Yeah, it reminds me of a few years ago with Kylie Jenner. How she changed her body, how she got these lip fillers, and you had these trends that went viral with the cup, where girls were trying to get their lips puckered up.
How can I go viral? And so they'll see somebody go viral and they want to follow that. They want to follow that path.
I was a high school teacher last year. What I would want to counsel kids is your social media presence follows you for the rest of your life. Welcome to Baffled. So today we're going to be tackling the digital lives of teens and understanding the power that social media has on influencing them. And trust me, you're not going to want to miss this conversation. Let's get into it. So, Jason.
Yes.
Let's talk about the power of social media when it comes to the way teenagers, how it shapes the teenage identity and their self-worth.
Oh, absolutely. So obviously platforms like TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat are really huge amongst young people. And, it's really it's really made us all self-centered, kind of self-image, looking good. I know for me, is like, if I'm going to do a selfie, I'm going to take 20 of them and then pick the right one that looks the best, have the right filters, so that I'm not just going to put something that makes me look bad. I'm going to put something that makes me look good, and attractive. And so teens are constantly chasing that self-image, and they'll look at other people and do the same thing. But basically, they put that picture out there, and they're starving for those comments, especially the positive ones. They want people, oh, you look cute, you look good, looking good, bro. And they're thirsty for that. They want that attention. And so it's constant in their life.
Yeah, it reminds me of a few years ago with Kylie Jenner, how she changed her body, how she got these lip fillers, and you had these trends that went viral with the cup, where girls were trying to get their lips puckered up thicker because Kylie was out there as a social media influencer trying to get these girls trying to follow her image.
Yeah.
So you mentioned likes and comments and shares, how that is even boosting or crushing confidence. You have teenage kids too as well, right? I have
2 of them, yeah.
So not even with watching students, even as the role as a father, how do you see social media influencing the things they post, geared towards, I posted this and now I'm discouraged because it didn't generate much likes or comments or shares? How has that kind of shaped both father, but also as someone in the youth development field?
Yeah. So, I mean, I see it with my kids, but I see it a lot with the students we speak to as well. And so basically, that is the goal, is to boost that self-image and to get the likes and get the shares, get that 5 minutes of fame is what they're chasing. So they're doing whatever they can, even if it's extreme, sometimes dangerous, sometimes just a little breaking the law a little bit, whatever it is, whatever they'll do, they push the envelope, all just to get that 5 minutes of fame. And so, there's obviously the vehicle is to go viral. How can I go viral? And so they'll see somebody go viral and they want to follow that. They want to follow that path. And so it takes a lot of putting yourself out there in many different ways in order to get that one bite, that one post or one picture or video for that matter, that grabs everybody's attention and goes viral. It really is the luck of the draw. And so it's constant chasing that. And it can be exhausting.
Yeah.
And it can be very time consuming as well.
So as we think about, like, just even that, we look at teenagers, we're in schools, and some schools have a no cell phone policy, but then some other schools allow their kids to have their cell phones with them. Yeah. So as we think about this is not just with the comments or shares. We even can see the self-worth we can even see it even as an adults, how we view ourselves based off how many followers we have.
Yeah.
We can see it, and this trickles down to teenagers, where there are programs that buy fake followers. So, this is not just for teenagers. We have to look ourselves in the mirror as well. So you mentioned viral. So what's the pressure to go viral? Because I remember, when I was getting out of high school, World Star Hip Hop became a thing. Yeah. And it was like the goal was World Star, go viral. But now it's not World Star Hip Hop anymore. It's just going viral on TikTok, going viral on YouTube. What's the purpose? Why do you think teenagers are idolizing people who are going viral?
I think they're just looking for, going back to the self-worth and significance. They're wanting that 5 minutes of fame. They're they're wanting to be noticed. They like, look at me, in a sense. And they're not, may not be doing it just in a pride thing, but they just want to be valued. And so they look for ways to do that. And so you mentioned, getting those likes, getting those shares. I know for me personally, and I've done this in the past, and I will post something, and if I only get one like or something, I'll delete it. It's just like, it didn't generate the likes that I wanted or whatever. Also too, I would post something controversial, maybe something about politics or whatever. And, and then you get the comments, and the fight is on, and so there's just that fear of just, having that conflict and everything. So basically any way possible they can have that moment in the sun, that spotlight on them, they're looking for that. They're chasing that. And so they'll do it with any means possible.
Yeah, and I think there's an aspect why they want the 5 minutes of fame, because you hear of TikTokers who made millions off going viral.
Right.
Whether it's from TikTok itself, whether it's a result of brand deals. You think of the girl Hawk Tuah. She went viral simply because of that moment. But one of the things when, whether it's in youth ministry, whether it's in, I was a high school teacher last year, what I would want to counsel kids is your social media presence follows you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So if your main goal in this moment is to go viral, and what you go viral for is negative, once that moment is over, it's going to be hard to get accepted into college. It's going to be hard to get that job. This reminds me of Spider-Man No Way Home. As you think of once Mysterio revealed Peter Parker's identity to the world, how not just him, but his friends, they couldn't go to the school they wanted to.
Right.
So, we have to try to teach our kids that even with their aspirations to want to go viral because of self-worth, we want to help them see, going back to our mantra, that their choices do affect their future.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just what they do today matters, whether it's 5 years or 10 years from now. So let's talk about even the impact on mental health, because, we see kids are constantly addicted to their phones, always looking to for the likes, for the comments. Psychologists talk about the dopamine rush and how this is fueling addiction. Do you believe that, not just teenagers, but there's a phone addiction crisis that's happening as a result?
Absolutely. And not just adults, but with teens as well. So, and their brains are still developing. Their brains don't fully develop till 25. So when they're on their screens way too much, like you said, the dopamine hit, it's like getting that notification, getting that text message or whatever. They got to know, they got to see, they got to open it. And it's constant. And so, one of the things I like the schools are doing is some of them will not allow them to have their phones on. They got to put them like in these little cubby holes or whatever. Mm-hmm. But other schools, the students will just have them in their pocket or something. And that pocket is vibrating. And it's like, they're jonesing. They're wanting to find out, who, but they're not allowed to. So it's like, it's constant just wanting that gratification of getting the phone lighting up and just seeing. And even if it's not doing anything, it's just unlocking the phone just to see, right? Mm-hmm. It's constant. And so, yeah, cell phone addiction is a real thing for sure.
So one of the things and obviously, guys, a lot of the stuff that has been shaping some of this conversation is not just the presentations we give, but it's also the books that we read.
Yeah.
And, if you're a parent, an administrator, an educator, a youth pastor, and you're in the space of understanding teenagers and the digital world, I highly recommend Jonathan Haidt's book, The Anxious Generation.
Great book.
He's an atheist, but that doesn't stop him from speaking elements of truth.
Yeah.
And, in his book, he talks a lot of the negative aspects, the negative influence social media has done to our children, where they're no longer having the skills needed to have a conversation like this.
Yeah.
We see how social media is now influencing their character. It's shaping the way that they are. One of the things we see with trends and going viral is the influence of crashing out. Like, you see teens, whether it's not just Gen Alpha, even with Gen Z, how it affects the way that they interact with people of another demographic, people of another political persuasion, mm-hmm. people of different convictions, or even if it's a different generation, how they will get up and crash out for the sake of going viral. They will get up and get into a fight for the sake of going viral. They will record someone, act as a quote unquote as a Karen in public for the sake of going viral. So, not just, I know a lot of the stuff we're talking about seems, how can we equip, youth workers to help teens see positive aspects of social media for their formation? So, how can you help them discern between real life and fake life, authenticity and entertainment?
Right.
How can we, because social media is here to stay. The phones are here. Like the toothpaste is out of the tube. If you're here, if you're a parent, I know you probably feel guilty. So, oh man, I already gave my kid a phone. What can I do? We want to equip you with the right tools to say, you know what? You can't take the phone back.
Right.
They're already on social media. So what can we do to help parents or youth workers navigate this space? What are some of the things you talk about in the social media safety presentation?
Right. So are you referring with parents, right?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I think walking alongside them, having those meaningful conversations. I mean, there's a couple of approaches you can do. You can either not let them have a phone, say no phones ever. And then what happens is now they feel left out. All their friends have phones. Everybody's talking about what they saw on Snapchat or Instagram or whatever. You can either do that, or you can give them the phone and just have at it and not bring guidance. And then of course, now they're talking to predators and getting in trouble with it. Or you can give them the phone and help them walk alongside them, like learn to discern. So having those conversations about who they're talking to online, the things they're posting, just having, asking questions really, and just trying to get into their head and heart of what they're thinking. And so I think the best way to do that is just to let them have the phone, but then within caution and walking alongside them. And then at the same time, you got to have those checkups with them, whether you have conversation with them. You as a parent, you should have their passcodes, because their private world is not their private world, and it's not just to lord over them, it's to protect them.
Yes.
And so there's been times we've done phone checks out even at home, and there was conversations that were questionable and things they were posting. So we do it because we care about them. We're guiding them. We're helping them to make the best decisions with that. And so, like you said, it's here to stay. So what do we do with it, and how can we best, walk alongside them every step of the way with it?
Yeah. And even, it's 2025, and, the two major platforms is TikTok and YouTube.
Oh yeah.
The stats show that more people watch videos on YouTube than they watch Netflix or YouTube TV. So, recognizing that these things are here, how can, what are some things that we can do as parents to help steer, like encourage them to listen to this person, watch this, to help them for not only for their protection, but also, we are a Christian organization, our worldview influences everything we do. So how can we help them use social media for their faith and spiritual development?
Yeah. Wow, that's a good question. So yeah, I mean, I think there should be, when it comes to having the phones, just a balance with it. And so there's just times where it's okay to be on it, and there's just times not, to disconnect, to disengage from it. I mean, if you're having family dinner time, that's the time not to have the phone, because of course, you see those pictures of the whole family sitting around on their phones, and it's just no conversation taking place. So put the phones away. You can have them after dinner, or, family movie time or homework time. I think there just should be a balance, that there's a time where you're allowed to be on it, but then there's a time you need to disconnect from it, because that's where the addiction's coming from, is being on it way too much. Bedtime is another big one.
Yeah.
Because they're not getting any sleep. Either they're on their phones all night long and then falling asleep at their desk the next day, or they're not on their phones and they're rehashing in their mind the conversations, the drama, the bullying, all that's being played out, or the arguments and disagreements.
Yeah.
So yeah, having a balance is best. And so at night, the phone should be out of the bedroom. I'm not just on a charger, but out in the kitchen or somewhere where they don't have access to it.
So
yeah,
I did a presentation yesterday at one of the schools, and as we were talking about goal setting, I asked the question, so what are some of your daily or short-term goals? And one of the students said, I want to take control of my sleep schedule.
Nice.
That I was like, that's a great, goal. What rhythms do you have in place to actually do that? And she was like, what do you mean? I was like, yeah. So as we think about goals, you want it to be specific. You want it to be attainable. What steps do you have in place? So she was like, I never thought about that. I was like, okay. So when is there no screen time? So first it was, what time do you want to be asleep? She was like 10 p.m. Okay. Then by what time should you eliminate all screen time? And she was like, 8, 9 o'clock. I was like, the earlier the better, but a minimum, at least an hour.
Right.
But, the earlier the better. Allow yourself to wean off. Allow your mind to relax, because it's those little moments, those little decisions. Maybe it's committing to putting, if you're a parent here, maybe it's a rule where no phones in the room.
Right.
So everybody has to give them the phone, and they stay locked in a drawer, in your room, in the master bedroom, where they can't have screens. No TVs in the room. So if they're going to play video games, play in the living room. If they're going to be on the phone, the use of screens should be in open space, not in a private space. Because that will help them get their sleep schedule. It will free them of whatever anxiety that they're freeing, and it'll eliminate some distractions. What are some rhythms do you think parents can have? Do you think, for example, January, a lot of people were fasting. Maybe it's encouraging phone-free Saturdays, or like a whole day where the whole family is not on a phone, just to get us in a rhythm of not being so dependent on our phones. I read a book a few years ago. I think it was from John Mark Comer, the Ruthless Elimination of Hurry.
Oh, yeah.
And he talks about, Sabbath rhythms with his family, where they put their phones away. They locked them away for 24 hours. They tried to do Friday night to Saturday night. So from Friday night, they knew it was not screen-less time, but it was a phone-free time. Whether they had pizza for dinner, they watched a movie together, they woke up, went on a walk, explored nature. But the goal was to have a full 24 hours of not having a phone, not having access to your emails, not having access to text messages, not having access to those notifications. So, at the end of the day, we're going to, just to wrap up, we just want to encourage teens to engage with the digital world in a way that builds their character, not in a way that tears it down.
Right.
If you go viral for positivity, that's great, but the intention is not to go viral. You want, if you go viral for sharing the gospel, if you go viral for praying, if you go viral for helping someone being kind, the goal is not to go viral. The goal is just to be a kind, compassionate person.
Right.
So guys, this is Baffled. We want to help you, whether you're a youth worker or a parent, just understand your misunderstood teen.
Exactly.
So, if you are intrigued by this conversation, intrigued by this content, subscribe to this channel, subscribe to this podcast, and just follow us for more content, because we just want to help you navigate your misunderstood teen. So again, my name is Jonathan.
And I'm Jason.
And this is Baffled.